صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Sahih al-Bukhari, the Book of the Interpretation of Dreams. Chapter on the commencement of the divine revelation to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, was in the form of good, righteous dreams. Narrated Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, the commencement of the divine revelation to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, was in the form of good, righteous, true dreams, which came true like bright daylight. And then the love of seclusion was bestowed upon him. He used to go in seclusion in the cave of Hira, where he used to worship Allah alone, continuously for many days and nights. He used to take with him the journey food for that stay, and then come back to his wife Khadija to take his food likewise again for another period to stay, till suddenly the truth descended upon him while he was in the cave of Hira. The angel came to him in it and asked him to read. The Prophet, peace be upon him, replied, "I do not know how to read." The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, "The angel caught me forcefully and pressed me so hard that I could not bear it any more. He then released me and again asked me to read, and I replied, 'I do not know how to read.' Thereupon he caught me again and pressed me a second time till I could not bear it any more. He then released me and asked me again to read, but again I replied, 'I do not know how to read, or what shall I read?' Thereupon he caught me for the third time and pressed me and then released me and said, 'Read in the name of your Lord who has created all that exists. He has created man from a clot. Read, and your Lord is most generous, up to that which he knew not.'" Qur'an, chapter 96, verse 5. Then Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, returned with the revelation, and with his heart beating severely till he entered upon Khadija and said, "Cover me, cover me." They covered him till his fear was over, and then he said, "O Khadija, what is wrong with me?" Then he told her everything that had happened and said, "I fear that something may happen to me." Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, said, "Never, by Allah, but have the glad tidings, for by Allah, Allah will never disgrace you as you keep good relations with your kith and kin, speak the truth, help the poor and destitute, serve your guests generously, and assist the deserving, calamity-afflicted ones." Khadija then accompanied him to her cousin Varaka bin Nawfal bin Asad bin Abdul Uzza bin Qusay. Varaka was the son of her paternal uncle, that is, her father's brother, who during the pre-Islamic period became a Christian and used to write the Arabic writing and used to write of the gospel in Arabic as much as Allah wished him to write. He was an old man and had lost his eyesight. Khadija said to him, "O my cousin, listen to what your nephew has to say." Varaka asked, "O my nephew, what have you seen?" The Prophet, peace be upon him, described whatever he had seen. Varaka said, "This is the same Namus, that is, Gabriel, whom Allah had sent to Moses, peace be upon him. I wish I were young and could live up to the time when your people would turn you out." Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, asked, "Will they drive me out?" Varaka replied in the affirmative and said, "Never did a man come with something similar to what you have brought, but was treated with hostility. If I should remain alive till the day when you will be turned out, then I would support you strongly." But after a few days, Varaka died, and the divine revelation was also paused for a while, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, became so sad, as we have heard, that he intended several times to throw himself from the tops of high mountains, and every time he went up to the top of a mountain in order to throw himself down, Jibril would appear before him and say, "O Muhammad, peace be upon him, you are indeed Allah's messenger in truth," whereupon his heart would become quiet and he would calm down and would return home. And whenever the period of the coming of the revelation used to become long, he would do as before. But when he used to reach the top of a mountain, Jibril would appear before him and say to him what he had said before. Ibn Abbas said regarding the meaning of cleaver of the daybreak, Qur'an, chapter 6, verse 96, that al-Isbah means the light of the sun during the day and the light of the moon at night. Chapter on the dreams of righteous people, faithful believers, and the statement of Allah, "Indeed, Allah shall fulfill the true vision which He showed to His messenger." That is, the Prophet, peace be upon him, saw a dream that he has entered Mecca along with his companions, having their head hair shaved and cut short, in very truth. Certainly, you shall enter al-Masjid al-Haram if Allah wills, secure some having your heads shaved and some having your head hair cut short, having no fear. He, Allah, knew what you knew not, and He granted besides that a near victory. Qur'an, chapter 48, verse 27. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "A good dream that comes true of a righteous man is one of 46 parts of an-Nabuwah, prophethood." Chapter on Good Dreams Are from Allah. Narrated Abu Qatada, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "A true good dream is from Allah, and a bad dream is from Satan." Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "If any one of you sees a dream that he likes, then it is from Allah, and he should thank Allah for it and narrate it to others. But if he sees something else, that is, a dream that he dislikes, then it is from Satan, and he should seek refuge with Allah from its evil, and he should not mention it to anybody, for it will not harm him. Chapter on A Righteous Good Dream That Comes True is one of the 46 parts of an-Nabuwah, prophethood. Narrated Abu Qatada, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "A righteous good dream that comes true is from Allah, and a bad dream is from Satan. So if any one of you sees a bad dream, he should seek refuge with Allah from Satan and should spit on the left, for the bad dream will not harm him." Narrated Ubadah bin As-Samit, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "A good dream of a faithful believer is a part of the 46 parts of an-Nabuwah, prophethood." Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "A good dream of a faithful believer is a part of the 46 parts of an-Nabuwah, prophethood." Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, "A good dream is a part of the 46 parts of an-Nabuwah, prophethood." Chapter on Al-Mubashirat, Glad Tidings. Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, "Nothing is left from an-Nabuwah, prophethood, except al-Mubashirat." They asked, "What are al-Mubashirat?" He replied, "A righteous good dream that conveys glad tidings." Chapter on the vision of Prophet Yusuf, Joseph, peace be upon him, and the statement of Allah. Remember, when Joseph, peace be upon him, said to his father, "O my father, verily I saw in a dream 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating themselves to me." He, the father, said, "O my son, relate not your vision to your brothers, lest they arrange a plot against you. Verily, Shaitan, Satan, is to man an open enemy. Thus will your Lord choose you and teach you the interpretation of dreams and other things and perfect His favor on you and on the offspring of Yaqub, Jacob, peace be upon him, as He perfected it on your fathers, Abraham, peace be upon him, and Ishaq, Isaac, peace be upon him, aforetime. Verily, your Lord is all-knowing, all-wise." Qur'an, chapter 12, verses 4 to 6. And also the statement of Allah, "O my father, this is the interpretation of my dream aforetime. My Lord has made it come true. He was indeed good to me when He took me out of prison and brought you all here out of the Bedouin life after Shaitan, Satan, had sown enmity between me and my brothers. Certainly, my Lord is the most courteous and kind unto whom He wills. Truly, only He is the all-knowing, the all-wise. My Lord, you have indeed bestowed on me of the sovereignty and taught me the interpretation of dreams, the only creator of the heavens and the earth. You are my wali, protector, helper, supporter, guardian, God, Lord, in this world and in the hereafter. Cause me to die as a Muslim, the one submitting to your will, and join me with the righteous." Qur'an, chapter 12, verses 100 and 101. Chapter on the vision of Abraham, peace be upon him, and the statement of Allah. And when his son was old enough to walk with him, he, Abraham, peace be upon him, said, "O my son, I have seen in a dream that I am slaughtering you, offer you in sacrifice to Allah. So look, what do you think? He said, O my father, do that which you are commanded. Inshallah, if Allah wills, you shall find me of as-sabirun, the patient. Then, when they had both submitted themselves to the will of Allah, and he had laid him prostrate on his forehead, or on the side of his forehead for slaughtering, and we called out to him, O Ibrahim, peace be upon him, you have fulfilled the dream. Verily, thus do we reward the muhsinun, good doers. Qur'an, chapter 37, verses 102 to 105. Chapter on if a number of persons have the same dream. Narrated Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, some people were shown the night of Qadr as being in the last 7 nights of the month of Ramadan. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, seek it in the last 7 nights of Ramadan. Chapter on the dreams of prisoners, evildoers, and mushrikun. The statement of Allah, and there entered with him 2 young men in the prison. One of them said, Verily, I saw myself in a dream pressing wine. The other said, Verily, I saw myself in a dream carrying bread on my head, and birds were eating thereof. They said, Inform us of the interpretation of this. Verily, we think you are one of the muhsinun, doers of good. He said, No food will come to you in wakefulness or in dream as your provision, but I will inform in wakefulness its interpretation before it, the food, comes. This is of that which my Lord has taught me. Verily, I have abandoned the religion of a people that believe not in Allah and are disbelievers in the hereafter, that is, the Can'aniyun of Egypt who were polytheists and used to worship sun and other false deities. And I have followed the religion of my fathers Ibrahim, Abraham, Ishaq, Isaac, and Yaqub, Jacob, peace be upon them, and never could we attribute any partners whatsoever to Allah. This is from the grace of Allah to us and to mankind. But most men thank not, that is, they neither believe in Allah nor worship Him. O 2 companions of the prison, are many different lords, gods better, or Allah the One, the Irresistible? You do not worship besides Him, but only names which you have named, forged, you and your fathers, for which Allah has sent down no authority. The command or the judgment is for none but Allah. He has commanded that you worship none but Him, that is, His monotheism. That is the true straight religion, but most men know not. O 2 companions of the prison, as for one of you, he as a servant will pour out wine for his lord, king or master to drink, and as for the other, he will be crucified, and birds will eat from his head. Thus is the case judged concerning which you both did inquire. And he said to the one whom he knew to be saved, Mention me to your Lord, that is your king, so as to get me out of the prison. But Shaitan, Satan made him forget to mention it to his Lord, or Shaitan made Yusuf, peace be upon him, to forget the remembrance of his Lord Allah as to ask for his help instead of others. So Yusuf, peace be upon him, stayed in prison for a few more years. And the king of Egypt said, Verily I saw in a dream 7 fat cows, whom 7 lean ones were devouring, and 7 green ears of corn, and 7 others dry. O notables, explain to me my dream, if it be that you can interpret dreams. They said, Mixed up false dreams, and we are not skilled in the interpretation of dreams. Then the man who was released, one of the 2 who were in prison, now at length remembered and said, I will tell you its interpretation, so send me forth. He said, O Yusuf, peace be upon him, the man of truth, explain to us the dream of 7 fat cows, whom 7 lean ones were devouring, and of 7 green ears of corn, and 7 others dry, that I may return to the people, and that they may know. Yusuf, peace be upon him, said, For 7 consecutive years you shall sow as usual, and that, the harvest which you reap, you shall leave in ears all except a little of it which you may eat. Then will come after that 7 hard years, which will devour what you have laid by in advance for them all except a little of that which you have guarded, stored. Then thereafter will come a year in which people will have abundant rain, and in which they will press wine and oil. And the king said, Bring him to me. But when the messenger came to him, Yusuf, peace be upon him, said, Return to your Lord. Qur'an, chapter 12, verses 36 to 50. Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "If I stayed in prison as long as Prophet Joseph, peace be upon him, stayed, and then the messenger came, I would respond to his call to go out of the prison." Footnote: the message of the king of Egypt came to the Prophet Joseph, peace be upon him, to free him from the prison, but Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, refused to go out of the prison until his innocence was declared by the confession of the wife of Aziz. See the Qur'an, chapter 12, verses 36 to 50. Chapter on whoever saw the Prophet, peace be upon him, in a dream. Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, I heard the Prophet, peace be upon him, saying, "Whoever sees me in a dream will see me in his wakefulness, that is, in the hereafter, and Shaitan, Satan, cannot imitate me in shape." Abu Abdullah said, Ibn Sirin said, only if he sees the Prophet, peace be upon him, in his real shape. See Hadith number 110. Narrated Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever has seen me in a dream, then no doubt he has seen me, for Shaitan, Satan, cannot imitate my shape, and a good dream of a believer is one of the 46 parts of an-Nabuwah, prophethood." Narrated Abu Qatada, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "A righteous good dream is from Allah, and a bad dream is from Satan. So whoever has seen in a dream something he disliked, then he should spit without saliva thrice on his left and seek refuge with Allah from Satan, for it will not harm him, and Satan cannot appear in my shape." Narrated Abu Qatada, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever sees me in a dream, then he indeed has seen the truth." Narrated Abu Sayyid al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever sees me in a dream, then he indeed has seen the truth, as Satan cannot appear in my shape." Chapter on night dreams. This has been narrated by Samura. Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "I have been given the keys of eloquent speech and given victory with awe, cast into the hearts of the enemy. And while I was sleeping last night, the keys of the treasures of the earth were brought to me till they were put in my hand." Abu Huraira added, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, left this world, and now you people are shifting those treasures from place to place. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "I saw myself in a dream near the Kaaba last night, and I saw a man with whitish red complexion, the best you may see amongst men of that complexion, having long hair reaching his earlobes, which was the best hair of its sort, and he had combed his hair, and water was dropping from it. And he was performing the tawaf around the Kaaba while he was leaning on two men, or on the shoulders of two men. I asked, 'Who is this man?' Somebody replied, 'He is Messiah, son of Maryam, Mary.' Then I saw another man with very curly hair, blind in the right eye, which looked like a protruding out grape. I asked, 'Who is this?' Somebody replied, 'He is Al-Masih ad-Dajjal.'" Narrated Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, about a man who came to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, and said, "I was shown in a dream last night." Then Ibn Abbas mentioned the narration. See Hadith number 7046. Chapter on dreams while sleeping in the daytime. And Ibn Sirin said, "The dreams during the day are similar to the dreams at night." Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, used to visit Haram bint Milhan, and she was the wife of Ubadah bin As-Samit. One day, the Prophet, peace be upon him, visited her, and she provided him with food and started looking for lice in his head. Then Allah's Messenger slept, and afterwards woke up smiling. Footnote: the Prophet, peace be upon him, was very clean, and he used to take a bath daily, even twice daily or more, and it is not logical that he could have lice in his head. Searching for lice does not necessarily mean that there were any. Haram asked, "What makes you smile, O Allah's Messenger?" Peace be upon him. He said, "Some of my followers were presented before me in my dream as fighters in Allah's cause, sailing in the middle of the sea like kings on the thrones, or like kings sitting on their thrones." The narrator Ishaq is not sure as to which expression was correct. Haram added, "I said, 'O Allah's Messenger,' peace be upon him, 'invoke Allah to make me one of them.' So Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, invoked Allah for her, and then laid his head down and slept again. Then he woke up smiling again. Haram added, I said, "What makes you smile, O Allah's Messenger?" Peace be upon him. He said, "Some people of my followers were presented before me in a dream as fighters in Allah's cause." He said the same as he had said before. I said, "O Allah's Messenger," peace be upon him, "invoke Allah to make me from them." He said, "You are among the first ones." Then Haram sailed over the sea during the caliphate of Muawiyah bin Abu Sufyan, and she fell down from her riding animal after coming ashore and died. Chapter on the Dreams of Women. Narrated Khadija bin Zayd bin Thabit, al-Ala, an Ansari woman who had given bay'ah, pledge to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, told me, "The Muhajirun, emigrants, were distributed amongst us by drawing lots, and we got Uthman bin Ma'zun in our share. We made him stay with us in our house. Then he suffered from a disease which proved fatal. When he died and was given a bath and was shrouded in his clothes, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, came. I said, addressing the dead body, 'O Aba As-Sa'ib, may Allah be merciful to you. I testify that Allah has honored you.' Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, 'How do you know that Allah has honored him?' I replied, 'Let my father be sacrificed for you, O Allah's Messenger. On whom else shall Allah bestow his honor?' Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, 'As for him, by Allah, death has come to him. By Allah, I wish him all good from Allah. By Allah, in spite of the fact that I am Allah's Messenger, I do not know what Allah will do to me.' al-Ala added, 'By Allah, I will never attest the righteousness of anybody after that.'" Footnote regarding "I do not know what Allah will do to me." This was said by the Prophet, peace be upon him, in general, but he knew definitely that he will be in paradise, or it is a mistake in the conveying of the wording of the Hadith. See Hadith number 7004. So one should not say about the piety of anybody and leave it for Allah to decide about that. Narrated Az-Zuhri regarding the above narration, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "I do not know what Allah will do to him." Uthman bin Ma'zun, al-Ala said, "I felt very sorry for that, and then I slept and saw in a dream a flowing spring for Uthman bin Ma'zun, and told Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, of that, and he said, that flowing spring symbolizes his good deeds." Chapter on a bad dream is from Satan, and if anyone has a bad dream, then he should spit on his left and seek refuge with Allah. Abu Qatada al-Ansari, a companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and one of his cavalrymen, narrated, "I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, 'A good dream is from Allah, and a bad dream is from Satan. So, if any one of you had a bad dream which he disliked, then he should spit on his left and seek refuge with Allah from it, for it will not harm him.'" Chapter on the milk seen in a dream. Narrated Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, "While I was sleeping, I was given a bowl full of milk in a dream, and I drank of it to my fill until I noticed its wetness coming out of my nails. Then I gave the rest of it to Omar. They, the people, asked, 'What have you interpreted about the dream, O Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him?' He said, 'It is religious knowledge.'" Chapter on if one sees in a dream that milk is flowing in his limbs or nails. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "While I was sleeping, I was given a bowl full of milk in the dream, and I drank from it to my fill till I noticed its wetness coming out of my limbs. Then I gave the rest of it to Omar bin al-Khattab. The person sitting around him asked, "What have you interpreted about the dream, O Allah's Messenger?" He said, "It is religious knowledge." Chapter on the seeing of a shirt in a dream. Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "While I was sleeping, some people were displayed before me in a dream. They were wearing shirts, some of which were merely covering their breasts, and some a bit longer. Then there passed before me Umar bin al-Khattab wearing a shirt. He was dragging it on the ground behind him. They, the people, asked, "What have you interpreted about the dream, O Allah's Messenger?" He said, "The religion." Chapter on what is said as regards dragging a long shirt on the ground in a dream. Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, "While I was sleeping, I saw in a dream the people being displayed before me, wearing shirts, some of which were so short that it reached as far as their breasts, and some reached below that. Then Umar bin al-Khattab was displayed before me, and he was wearing a shirt which he was dragging behind him. They asked, "What have you interpreted about the dream, O Allah's Messenger?" Peace be upon him. He said, "The religion." Chapter on the seeing of green color in a dream and the seeing of a green garden in a dream. Narrated Qais bin Ubadah, I was sitting in a gathering in which there was Sa'd bin Malik and Ibn Umar. Abdullah bin Salam passed in front of them, and they said, "This man is from the people of paradise." I said to Abdullah bin Salam, "They said so and so." He replied, "Subhanallah, they ought not to have said things of which they have no knowledge, but I saw in a dream that a post was fixed in a green garden. At the top of the post there was a handhold, and below it there was a servant. I was asked to climb the post, so I climbed it till I caught hold of the handhold. Then I narrated this dream to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, Abdullah will die while still holding the firm, reliable handhold, that is, Islam. Chapter on removing the veil of a woman in a dream. Narrated Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said to me, "You were shown to me twice in my dream. Behold, a man was carrying you in a silken piece of cloth and said to me, 'She is your wife, so uncover her.' And behold, it was you. I would then say to myself, 'If this is from Allah, then it must happen.'" Chapter on the seeing of silken garments in a dream. Narrated Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said to me, "You were shown to me twice in my dream before I married you. I saw an angel carrying you in a silken piece of cloth, and I said to him, 'Uncover her,' and behold, it was you. I said to myself, 'If this is from Allah, then it must happen.' Then you were shown to me, the angel carrying you in a silken piece of cloth, and I said to him, 'Uncover her,' and behold, it was you. I said to myself, 'If this is from Allah, then it must happen.' Chapter on the seeing of keys in one's hand in a dream. Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, "I have been sent with Jawami al-Kalim, that is, the shortest expression carrying the widest meanings. And I was made victorious with awe, cast into the hearts of the enemy. And while I was sleeping, in my dream I saw the keys of the treasures of the earth were brought to me and were put in my hand." Muhammad said, Jawami al-Kalim means that Allah expresses in one or two statements or thereabouts the numerous matters that used to be written in the books revealed before the coming of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Chapter on taking hold or handhold or a ring. Narrated Abdullah bin Salam, in a dream I saw myself in a garden, and there was a pillar in the middle of the garden, and there was a handhold at the top of the pillar. I was asked to climb it. I said I cannot. Then a servant came and lifted up my clothes, and I climbed the pillar, and then got hold of the handhold, and I woke up while still holding it. I narrated that to the Prophet, peace be upon him, who said, "The garden symbolizes the garden of Islam, and the handhold is the firm Islamic handhold, which indicates that you will be adhering firmly to Islam until you die." Chapter on to see a pole of a tent under one's cushion or pillow in a dream. Chapter on seeing al-Istabrak, a kind of thick silk in a dream and entering paradise. Narrated Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, I saw in a dream a piece of silken cloth in my hand, and in whatever direction in paradise I waved it, it flew carrying me there. I narrated this dream to my sister, Hafsa. As she told it to the Prophet, peace be upon him, who said to Hafsa, "Indeed, your brother is a righteous man," or "Indeed, Abdullah is a righteous man." Chapter on seeing oneself fettered in a dream. Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "When the day of resurrection approaches, the dreams of a believer will hardly fail to come true, and a dream of a believer is one of the 46 parts of an-Nabu'ah, prophethood, and whatever belongs to an-Nabu'ah can never be false." Muhammad bin Sirin said, "But I say this." He said, "It used to be said, there are 3 types of dreams. 1. The reflection of one's thoughts and experiences one has during wakefulness. 2. What is suggested by Satan to frighten the dreamer. 3. Or glad tidings from Allah. So, if someone has a dream which he dislikes, he should not tell it to others, but get up and offer as-Salat, prayer." He added, He, Abu Huraira, hated to see a ghul, that is, iron collar around his neck in a dream, and people like to see fetters on their feet in a dream. The fetters on the feet symbolizes one's constant and firm adherence to religion. And Abu Abdullah said, aghlal, plural of ghul, are used only for necks. Chapter on seeing a flowing spring in a dream. Narrated Kharija bin Zaid bin Thabit, al-Ala, an Ansari woman who had given the bay'ah, pledge to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, Uthman bin Maz'un came in our share when the Ansar drew lots to distribute the emigrants to dwell among themselves. He became sick, and we looked after, nursed him till he died. Then we shrouded him in his clothes. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, came to us. I, addressing the dead body, said, May Allah be merciful to you, O Aba As-Saib. I testify that Allah has honored you. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, How do you know that Allah has honored him? I replied, I do not know by Allah. He said, As for him, death has come to him, and I wish him all good from Allah. By Allah, though I am Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, I neither know what will happen to me nor to you. al-Ala added, By Allah, I will never attest the righteousness of anybody after that. She added, Later I saw in a dream a flowing spring for Uthman. So I went to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, and mentioned that to him. He said, That is the symbol of his good deeds, the reward for which is going on for him. Footnote regarding I neither know what will happen to me. This was said by the Prophet, peace be upon him, in general, but he knew definitely that he will be in paradise, or it is a mistake in the conveying of the wording of the Hadith. See Hadith number 7004. So one should not say about the piety of anybody and leave it for Allah to decide about that. Chapter on drawing water from a well till everybody's thirst is quenched. Abu Huraira narrated this from the Prophet, peace be upon him. Narrated Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, I saw in a dream that while I was standing at a well and drawing water therefrom, suddenly Abu Bakr and Umar came to me. Abu Bakr took the bucket and drew 1 or 2 buckets full of water, but there was weakness in his pulling, but Allah forgave him. Then Ibn al-Khattab took the bucket from Abu Bakr's hand, and the bucket turned into a very large one in his hand. I have never seen any strong man among the people doing such a hard job as Umar did, till the people drank to their satisfaction, and watered their camels to their fill, and then, after quenching their thirst, they, the camels, sat near the water. See Volume 5, Hadith number 3664. Chapter on drawing 1 or 2 buckets full of water from a well with weakness. Narrated Salim's father about the Prophet's, peace be upon him, dream in which he has seen Abu Bakr and Umar. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, I saw in a dream that the people had gathered. Then Abu Bakr stood up and pulled out 1 or 2 buckets full of water from a well, and there was weakness in his pulling. May Allah forgive him. Then Ibn al-Khattab stood up, and the bucket turned into a very large one, and I have never seen any strong man among the people doing such a hard job. He pulled out so much water that the people drank to their satisfaction and watered their camels to their fill, and then after quenching their thirst, they, the camels, sat near the water. Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, While I was sleeping in my dream, I saw myself standing at a well over which there was a bucket. I pulled out from it as many buckets of water as Allah wished. And then Ibn Abi Quhafa, Abu Bakr, took the bucket from me and pulled out 1 or 2 full buckets, and there was weakness in his pull. May Allah forgive him. Then the bucket turned into a very large one, and Umar bin al-Khattab took it. I have never seen any strong man among the people drawing water with such strength as Umar did, till the people drank to their satisfaction and watered their camels to their fill, and then, after quenching their thirst, they, the camels, sat near the water. Chapter on to take rest in a dream. Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, While I was sleeping in my dream, I saw myself standing over a tank, well, giving water to the people to drink. Then Abu Bakr came to me and took the bucket from me in order to relieve me, and he pulled out 1 or 2 full buckets, and there was weakness in his pulling. May Allah forgive him. Then Ibn al-Khattab took it from him and went on drawing water till the people left after being satisfied, while the tank was overflowing with water. Chapter on Seeing a Palace in a Dream. Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him. While we were sitting with Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, he said, "While I was sleeping, in my dream, I saw myself in paradise. Suddenly, I saw a woman performing ablution beside a palace. I asked, 'For whom is this palace?' They, the angels, replied, 'It is for Umar bin al-Khattab.' Then I remembered Umar's ghaira and went back hurriedly. On hearing that, Umar started weeping and said, 'Let my father and mother be sacrificed for you, O Allah's Messenger. How dare I think of my ghaira being offended by you?" Footnote: Ghaira. This word covers a wide meaning, jealousy as regards women, and also it is a feeling of great fury and anger when one's honor and prestige is injured or challenged. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "I saw in a dream that I entered paradise, and behold, there was a palace built of gold. I asked, 'For whom is this palace?' They, the angels, replied, 'For a man from the Quraysh.' The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, 'O Ibn al-Khattab, nothing stopped me from entering it except your ghaira.' Omar said, 'How dare I think of my ghaira being offended by you, O Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him.'" Chapter on Performing Ablution in a Dream. Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him. While we were sitting with Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, he said, "While I was sleeping, in my dream I saw myself in paradise, and behold, a woman was performing ablution by the side of a palace. I asked, 'For whom is this palace?' They, the angels, replied, 'For Umar.' Then I remembered the ghaira of Umar and returned immediately. Umar wept on hearing that and said, 'Let my father and mother be sacrificed for you, O Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him. How dare I think of my ghaira being offended by you?" Chapter on the Performance of Tawaf around the Kaaba in a Dream. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "While I was sleeping, in my dream I saw myself performing the Tawaf of the Kaaba. Behold, there I saw a whitish-red lank-haired man holding himself between two men with water dropping from his hair. I asked, 'Who is this?' The people replied, 'He is the son of Maryam, Mary.' Then I turned my face to see another man with red complexion, big body, curly hair, and blind in the right eye, which looked like a protruding out grape. I asked, 'Who is he?' They replied, 'He is Ad-Dajjal. Ibn Qatan resembles him more than anybody else among the people, and Ibn Qatan was a man from Bani al-Mustalik, from Khuza'ah." Chapter on If Someone Gives the Remaining of One's Drink to Another Person in a Dream. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him. I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, "While I was sleeping, in my dream I saw a bowl full of milk was brought to me, and I drank of it to my fill, till I noticed its wetness flowing in my body. Then I gave the remaining of it to Umar. They asked, 'O Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, what have you interpreted about the dream?' He said, 'It is religious knowledge.' See Hadith number 7006. Chapter on the Feeling of Security and the Disappearance of Fear in a Dream. Narrated Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, men from the companions of Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, used to see dreams during the lifetime of Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, and they used to narrate those dreams to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, would interpret them as Allah wished him to interpret them. I was a young man and used to stay in the mosque before my wedlock. I said to myself, if there were any good in myself, I too would see what these people see. So I went to bed one night and said, "O Allah, if you see any good in me, show me a good dream." So while I was in that state, there came to me in a dream 2 angels. In the hand of each of them there was a mace of iron, and both of them were taking me to hell, and I was between them, invoking Allah. "O Allah, I seek refuge with you from hell." Then I saw myself being confronted by another angel holding a mace of iron in his hand. He said to me, "Do not be afraid. You will be an excellent man if you only offer salah, prayer, more often." So they took me till they stopped me at the edge of hell, and behold, it was built inside like a well, and it had side posts like those of a well. And beside each post there was an angel carrying an iron mace. I saw therein many people hanging upside down with iron chains, and I recognized therein some men from the Quraysh. Then the angels took me to the right side. I narrated this dream to my sister Hafsa, and she told it to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "No doubt, Abdullah is a good man." Nafi' said, "Since then, Abdullah bin Umar used to offer salam much." Chapter on to be taken to the right side in a dream. Narrated Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, I was a young unmarried man during the lifetime of the Prophet, peace be upon him. I used to sleep in the mosque. Anyone who had a dream would narrate it to the Prophet, peace be upon him. I said, "O Allah, if there is any good for me with you, then show me a dream so that Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, may interpret it for me." So I slept and saw in a dream 2 angels came to me and took me along with them. And they met another angel who said to me, "Don't be afraid, you are a good man." They took me towards the fire, and behold, it was built inside like a well, and therein I saw people, some of whom I recognized, and then the angels took me to the right side. In the morning, I mentioned that dream to Hafsa. Hafsa told me that she had mentioned it to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he said, "Abdullah is a righteous man if he only offers the Salat prayer more at night." See Hadith number 1121 and 1122. Az-Zuhri said, after that, Abdullah used to offer salah more at night. Chapter on seeing a bowl, cup in a dream. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, "While I was sleeping, in my dream, I saw that a cup full of milk was brought to me, and I drank of it, and gave the remaining of it to Umar bin al-Khattab." They asked, "What have you interpreted about the dream, O Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him?" The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "It is religious knowledge." Chapter on if something flies in a dream. Narrated Ubaidullah bin Abdullah, I asked Ibn Abbas about the dream of Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, which he mentioned. See Hadith number 7034. Narrated Abdullah bin Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "While I was sleeping, I saw in my dream 2 golden bangles were put in my 2 hands, so I got scared, frightened, and disliked it. But I was given permission to blow them off, and when I blew them, they flew away. I interpreted as a symbol of 2 liars who will appear." Ubaidullah said, "One of them was Al-Ansi, who was killed by Fairuz at Yemen, and the other was Musallama at Najd." Chapter on if one sees in a dream cows being slaughtered. Narrated Abu Musa, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "I saw in a dream that I was emigrating from Mecca to a land where there were date palm trees. I thought that it might be the land of Al-Yamama or Hajar, but behold, it turned out to be Yathrib, that is Al-Madinah. And I saw cows being slaughtered there, but the reward given by Allah is better than worldly benefits. Behold, those cows proved to symbolize the believers who were killed on the day of the Battle of Uhud, and the good, which I saw in the dream, was the good and the reward and the truth which Allah bestowed upon us after the day of the Battle of Badr battle, or the Battle of Uhud, and that was the victory bestowed by Allah in the Battle of Khaybar and the conquest of Mecca." Chapter on to blow out in a dream. Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "We Muslims are the last to come but will be the foremost on the day of resurrection." Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, further said, "While sleeping, I saw in my dream that I was given the treasures of the world and 2 golden bangles were put in my hands, but I felt much annoyed, and those 2 bangles distressed me very much, but I was inspired that I should blow them off, so I blew them and they flew away. Then I interpreted that those 2 bangles were the liars between whom I was, that is, the one of Sana'a and the one of Yamama." Chapter on if one sees in a dream that he takes something out of some place and places it in another place. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "I saw in a dream a black woman with unkempt hair going out of Al-Madinah and settling at Mahya'ah, that is Al-Jufa. I interpreted that as a symbol of epidemic of Al-Madinah being transferred to that place, Al-Jufa." Chapter on to see a black woman in a dream. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, concerning the dream of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in Al-Madinah. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "I saw in a dream a black woman with unkempt hair going out of Al-Madinah and settling at Mahya'ah. I interpreted that as a symbol of the epidemic of al-Madinah being transferred to Mahya'ah, that is, al-Jufa. Chapter on seeing a lady with unkempt hair in a dream. Narrated Salim's father, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, I saw in a dream a black woman with unkempt hair going out of al-Madinah and settling in Mahya'ah. I interpreted that as a symbol of the epidemic of al-Madinah being transferred to Mahya'ah, that is, al-Jufa. Chapter on if someone waves a sword in a dream. Narrated Abu Musa, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, I saw in a dream that I waved a sword and it broke in the middle, and behold, that symbolized the casualties the believers suffered on the day of the Battle of Uhud. Then I waved the sword again, and it became better than it had ever been before, and behold, that symbolized the conquest of Mecca, which Allah brought about, and the gathering of the believers. Chapter on whoever tells a lie by narrating a dream which he did not see. Narrated Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, whoever claims to have seen a dream which he did not see will be ordered to make a knot between two barley grains which he will not be able to do. And if somebody listens to the talk of some people who do not like him to listen, or they run away from him, then molten lead will be poured into his ears on the day of resurrection. And whoever makes a picture will be punished on the day of resurrection and will be ordered to put his soul in that picture which he will not be able to do. Narrated Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, the worst lie is that a person claims to have seen a dream which he has not seen. Chapter on if someone saw a bad dream which he disliked, he should not tell it to anybody nor mention it. Narrated Abu Salama, I used to see a dream which would make me sick till I heard Abu Qatada saying, I too used to see a dream which would make me sick till I heard the Prophet, peace be upon him, saying, a good dream is from Allah. So if any one of you saw a dream which he liked, he should not tell it to anybody except to the one whom he loves. And if he saw a dream which he disliked, then he should seek refuge with Allah from its evil and from the evil of Satan, and spit 3 times on his left, and should not tell it to anybody, for it will not harm him. Narrated Abu Sayyid al-Khudri, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, if any one of you saw a dream which he liked, then that was from Allah, and he should thank Allah for it and tell it to others. But if he saw something else, that is, a dream which he did not like, then that is from Satan, and he should seek refuge with Allah from it, and should not tell it to anybody, for it will not harm him. Chapter on whoever considers the interpretation of the first interpreter of one's dream as not valid if he does not interpret it correctly. Narrated Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, a man came to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, and said, I saw in a dream a cloud having shade. Butter and honey were dropping from it, and I saw the people gathering it in their hands, some gathering much, and some a little. And behold, there was a rope extending from the earth to the sky, and I saw that you, the Prophet, peace be upon him, held it and went up, and then another man held it and went up, and after that another, third, held it and went up, and then after another, 4th man held it, but it broke and then got connected again. Abu Bakr said, O Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, let my father be sacrificed for you. Allow me to interpret this dream. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said to him, interpret it. Abu Bakr said, the cloud with shade symbolizes Islam, and the butter and honey dropping from it symbolizes the Qur'an, its sweetness dropping, and some people learning much of the Qur'an and some a little. The rope which is extended from the sky to the earth is the truth which you, the Prophet, peace be upon him, are following. You follow it, and Allah will raise you high with it. And then another man will follow it, and he will rise up with it. And another man will follow it, and he will rise up with it. And then another man will follow it, but it will break, and then it will be connected for him, and he will rise up with it. O Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, let my father be sacrificed for you. Am I right or wrong? The Prophet, peace be upon him, replied, you are right in some of it, and wrong in some. Abu Bakr said, O Allah's Prophet, peace be upon him, by Allah, you must tell me in what I was wrong. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, do not swear. Chapter on the interpretation of dreams after the Fajr prayer. Narrated Samura bin Jundub, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, very often used to ask his companions, "Did any one of you see a dream?" So dreams would be narrated to him by those whom Allah willed to relate. One morning the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Last night 2 persons came to me in a dream and woke me up and said to me, 'Proceed.' I set out with them, and we came across a man lying down, and behold, another man was standing over his head, holding a big rock. Behold, he was throwing the rock at the man's head, injuring it. The rock rolled away, and the thrower followed it and took it back. By the time he reached the man, his head returned to its normal state. The thrower then did the same as he had done before. I said to my 2 companions, 'Subhanallah, who are these 2 persons?' They said, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded and came to a man lying in a prone position and another man standing over his head with an iron hook. And behold, he would put the hook in one side of the man's mouth and tear off that side of his face to the back of the neck, and similarly tear his nose from front to back and his eye from front to back. Then he turned to the other, second side of the man's face and did just as he had done with the first side. He hardly completed that second side when the first side returned to its normal state. Then he returned to it to repeat what he had done before. I said to my 2 companions, 'Subhanallah, who are these 2 persons?' They said to me, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded and came across something like a tanur, a kind of baking oven, a pit usually clay-lined for baking bread. Samurah bin Jundab said, I think the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, 'In that oven there was much noise and voices.' The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, 'We looked into it and found naked men and women, and behold, a flame of fire was reaching to them from underneath, and when it reached them they cried loudly. I asked them, 'Who are these?' They said to me, 'Proceed, proceed.' And so we proceeded and came across a river. I think he said, 'red like blood.' The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, 'And behold, in the river there was a man swimming, and on the bank there was a man who had collected many stones. Behold, while the man who was swimming went near the latter, the former opened his mouth, and the latter on the bank threw a stone into his mouth, whereupon he went swimming again. Then again, he, the former, would return to him, the latter, and every time the former returned, he opened his mouth, and the latter threw a stone into his mouth, and so on. The performance was repeated. I asked my 2 companions, 'Who are these 2 persons?' They replied, 'Proceed, proceed.' And we proceeded till we came to a man with a repulsive appearance, the most repulsive appearance you ever saw a man having. Beside him there was a fire, and he was kindling it and running around it. I asked my companions, 'Who is this man?' They said to me, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded till we reached a garden of deep green dense vegetation, having all sorts of spring color. In the midst of the garden there was a very tall man, and I could hardly see his head because of his great height. And around him there were children in such a large number as I have never seen. I said to my companions, 'Who is this?' They replied, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded till we came to a majestic, huge garden, greater and better than I have ever seen. My 2 companions said to me, 'Ascend up,' and I ascended up. The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, 'So we ascended till we reached a city built of gold and silver bricks, and we went to its gate and asked the gatekeeper to open the gate. And it was opened, and we entered the city and found in it men with one side of their bodies as handsome as the most handsome person you have ever seen, and the other side as ugly as the ugliest person you have ever seen. My 2 companions ordered those men to throw themselves into the river. Behold, there was a river flowing across the city, and its water was like milk in whiteness. Those men went and threw themselves in it, and then returned to us after the ugliness of their bodies had disappeared, and they became in the best shape. The Prophet, peace be upon him, further added, my 2 companions, angels, said to me, 'This place is the Adhaan paradise, and that is your place.' I raised up my sight, and behold, there I saw a palace like a white cloud. My 2 companions said to me, 'That palace is your place.' I said to them, 'May Allah bless you both. Let me enter it.' They replied, 'As for now you will not enter it, but you shall enter it one day.' I said to them, 'I have seen many wonders tonight. What does all that mean which I have seen?' They replied, 'We will inform you. As for the first man you came upon, whose head was being smashed with the rock, he symbolizes the one who studies the Qur'an and then neither recites it nor acts on its orders and sleeps, neglecting the enjoined Salah, prayers. As for the man you came upon whose sides of mouth, nostrils, and eyes were torn off from front to back, he is the symbol of the man who goes out of his house in the morning and tells lies that is spreads all over the world. And those naked men and women whom you saw in a construction resembling an oven, they are the adulterers and the adulteresses, and the man whom you saw swimming in the river and given a stone to swallow is the eater of riba, usury, and the ugly-looking man whom you saw near the fire, kindling it and going around it, is Malik, the gatekeeper of hell, and the tall man whom you saw in the garden is Abraham, peace be upon him, and the children around him are those children who die with al-fitra. The Islamic faith of monotheism. The narrator added, some Muslims asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, O Allah's Messenger, what about the children of al-mushrikun, polytheists, pagans, idolaters, and disbelievers in the oneness of Allah and His Messenger Muhammad, peace be upon him? The Prophet, peace be upon him, replied, and also the children of al-mushrikun. The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, and my two companions added, the men you saw half handsome and half ugly were those persons who had mixed an act that was good with another that was evil, but Allah forgave them. Footnote: Riba, usury, which is of two major kinds. A. Riba nasiya, that is interest on lent money. B. Riba fadl, that is taking a superior thing of the same kind of goods by giving more of the same kind of goods of inferior quality. For example, dates of superior quality for dates of inferior quality in greater amount. Islam strictly forbids all kinds of usury.